North Vietnamese troops stormed south across the demilitarized zone and eastward from Cambodia towards Saigon. By last weekend, it was clear that the invasion was no mere token demonstration. There was no sign that their grip on the country was slackening. So for the first time since 1968, American planes began massive bombing raids against the north, against Hanoi and Haiphong. As a result, now that the war has been stepped up, Vietnam has become a major political issue for President Nixon. Much of the fighting centers around the town of An Loc on Highway 13, only 50 miles from Saigon. And it's from Highway 13 that Peter Taylor reports.
For the past 25 years, North and South Vietnam have been at war. And for the past 10 years, America has been doing the South's fighting for it. But those days are now over. In this, the latest North Vietnamese offensive, the South Vietnamese army are standing on their own feet. Vietnamization, leaving the South Vietnamese to it, is being tested most dramatically here on Highway 13, 40 miles north of Saigon, where 20,000 South Vietnamese troops are now pinned down whilst trying to lift the siege of An Loc 10 miles up the road. Before Vietnamization, the South Vietnamese army, the ARVN, was a GI joke, a sort of Fred Karno's army of Southeast Asia that went to war in tennis shoes. But the ARVN is no longer a joke. Over 1 million strong, it's the second largest fighting force in Asia, second only to Red China. Vietnamization is a two-way process. American money goes in and American troops come out. America has spent $10 billion equipping the ARVN with the latest hardware of modern warfare. America's ground war is over. In 3 years, she's reduced her troops from 500,000 to 90,000. The only American faces seen on the battlefield are the odd advisors who work with the South Vietnamese to coordinate artillery and air support for the ARVN ground troops. Have you any idea why the North Vietnamese offensive came at this particular point, when everyone was expecting it about 2 months earlier?
Well, I don't think they're foolish enough to jump off on something before they're ready for it, even if the political situation is opportune. I think they would have liked to have jumped off when Nixon was in China, but I don't think they were ready, and they were a little too smart for that.
Saigon is about 50 miles down the road here. Is Saigon threatened?
No, I don't believe so. Not really.
It's not very well defended, is it?
Well, between here and Saigon, there's a hell of a lot of us. And I don't think Charlie's got anything that we can't handle. He's got the tanks, which I think scared our people at the beginning. Not by our people, I don't mean the airborne people, but I think the first troops that met him face on. But I think the shock is worn off, and as I understand it, on all fronts, they're stopping. And we've got the anti-tank weapons, so there's no problem.
Do you think the South Vietnamese are missing American support on the ground?
By missing, do you mean they need it? I don't think they need it. Of course they could benefit from it. Yes! I think you're going to have to cut this off.
Okay, Major, thank you very much. American advisors don't have much time for interviews. The situation on Highway 13 is critical. The South Vietnamese relief column, which contains some of the ARVN's best units, including President Thie's own palace guard, is now surrounded on 3 sides by the North Vietnamese and stands in immediate danger of being cut off from the rear. For 10 years, America fought a guerrilla war. Now that the American ground troops have gone, the North Vietnamese have come out into the open, launching 100,000 of their 500,000 troops into a conventional war with infantry, artillery and tanks. The South Vietnamese generals may be fighting their own war, but the American military is looking over their shoulders while they're doing it. Each war zone has its American general. General Hollingsworth is the senior military advisor for Highway 13 and An Loc.
How's Arvin doing?
Very, very well. Very well.
What is your object at the moment?
To destroy as many of the NVAs as I can before they get back to Cambodia.
You think you can?
Oh, yes, indeed. We're killing them by the hundreds out there now. Yes. They're on the run. Their objective was to take a province headquarters and a province, and they'll fail miserably. They're now broken up into small groups, east and west of An Loc, trying to get away.
Briefing over, General Hollingsworth mounts his personal helicopter, Dynamite 6, and takes to the skies to drop in on another advisor on another front. But the general's optimism was misplaced. The battle for An Loc still rages, supplies are short, and far from retreating to Cambodia, the North Vietnamese troops are within 25 miles of Saigon. In 10 years, 45,000 American troops died in Vietnam. 300,000 were wounded. Night after night for those 10 years, Americans watched their soldiers being killed and wounded on their television screens. Demands to end the war increased as the casualty lists mounted. The scenes are still the same, but now the faces are different. The South Vietnamese are the casualties. Pictures like these tell Americans back home that it's no longer their war. But the pictures are deceptive. It is still America's war. American soldiers no longer fight on the ground, but American pilots still fight on in the air. The South Vietnamese Air Force, which now flies 80% of all combat missions inside South Vietnam, is only able to do so because American jet fighters control the skies. But above all, it's the giant B-52 bombers that continue to symbolize America's involvement in this war. Operating from bases outside the country, they pound enemy troop concentrations, airstrips and bases, both inside and outside South Vietnam. What is being questioned is their effectiveness. The B-52 raids on An Loc didn't lift the siege. The bombing of the north ordered last Sunday can only stop next summer's supplies reaching the south, not next week's. No Americans are more weary of the war than the 7,000 combat troops still left in Vietnam. They sit on exposed fire bases like this one 30 miles northeast of Saigon. They go on routine patrols into the jungle. They come back, drink beer and count the days till they go home.
I want to see your money. I gave you a quarter. I'm gonna get you back though. My word of honor. May the big ranger. Get out of here! There ain't no ranger in the sky with this stuff.
Do you think that American ground troops should be helping out the South Vietnamese army at this moment?
Well, I don't think we have enough troops here to do anything. If there is the size of the offensive that the North supposedly has, then we don't have enough to even slow it down. So there's no sense taking a chance of getting one of us hurt again. And eventually we're going to have to leave, so the the South Vietnamese should go ahead and take it over now. If they get beat, they get beat.
Does it matter if the South Vietnamese are beaten by the North?
Not to me. Not to me.
It doesn't matter at all?
Not really, no, I don't think so.
Doesn't that mean that America's wasted 10 years in Vietnam?
Oh, in that part, yeah, but like I say, on a personal basis, no, it doesn't matter to me. As long as I go home in one piece, it doesn't matter to me. Because I feel sorry for the people, you know, who died and everything over here, but I can't reach them, so. Personally, no, I don't care who wins.
Do you think the South Vietnamese army can look after themselves?
I don't think so. I don't like being here. I don't like nothing about it myself. So I don't think they can hold. I think as soon as we leave, they'll just come all the way down. They're already coming from the south. They're coming from the north. They're coming from Cambodia. So sooner or later, they're just going to take the whole thing. It's just a matter of time.
Does it matter if South Vietnam is defeated by the North?
I guess it does. And it'll matter to someone. To me, it won't matter that much because I don't have that great of an interest. It just feels like a waste that we come over here and we lost so many lives and then we're going to turn around and leave.
Could the South Vietnamese army manage without American air power?
Their air power? No. Because as far as I know, they still don't have the South Vietnamese flying the Cobras. They're probably training them in that, but they don't know how to fly them that well. They're flying the jets now, and I don't think they'll ever turn a B-52 over to one of them. That's too much money.
Can the South Vietnamese army hold their own against the North Vietnamese without American support?
I don't think so. I doubt it.
What happens then?
Then it becomes the Vietnamese army, I think. Forget the North and the South. I just think they'll all just kind of forget it and go home and, you know, grow rice and.
The North Vietnamese aren't going to go home, are they?
I don't know. I honestly don't. I sometimes wonder if the North Vietnamese, they might. I think maybe they just want to get us out. I really don't know. I sometimes think that we're the complete outsiders, you know, that there isn't as big a difference between the North and South Vietnamese as there is against the North Vietnamese and the Americans, or who else have you?
Do you think that America's involvement in Vietnam over the past 10 years will have been worth it?
I mean, has it been worth it? Maybe for the first couple of years, but I don't think it has been now, because too many guys have died over here and we haven't really accomplished much.
Do you think American troops should be fighting alongside the South Vietnamese now?
I think we've given them too much time to get their stuff together. Like, for 10 years, we've been trying to get them to be fighters, and if you can't do it in 10 years, they did it with me in less than a year, supposedly, so if they can't do it with them in 10 years, something's wrong.
The current North Vietnamese offensive is a war to test Vietnamization, but it's not the real test. That comes when and if America decides to withdraw her air support and South Vietnam faces the North on equal terms. But so far, the South Vietnamese have done better than many people expected. The North Vietnamese army has still to capture an important town. At the most, America can be relieved at the performance of her protégé, relieved that the ARVN hasn't collapsed as many predicted that it would. With the war now almost 3 weeks old, North Vietnam has not achieved the decisive military victory, and she's most unlikely to do so as long as America continues to give her air support to South Vietnam. But what the North has achieved, and this was probably her aim all along, is to embarrass President Nixon on the eve of his visit to Moscow, and to make the Vietnam War the issue in the American election campaign that President Nixon has consistently denied it to be.